And welcome to What Are You Saying? #Ways, where we talk about topics in the news. My name is Utielu, and I'm joined in the studio by the emerald glistening NJ. Diola is laughing. Diola is like, where do you come up with these things? And the giggling Diola.
I know.
She always catches the giggles when we're on the show.
I know.
Yeah, that's what you are now. You're bringing the laughter to the show. But how are you ladies doing?
Good.
Good?
Yeah.
Lagos good or real good? NJ
NJ
is like, which one?
there's this thing that someone once told me in a couple of years ago that when you're feeling down, wear bright colors.
That person is my spirit, and like, just wear bright colors.
That's just so that you have
Pop up.
Something else that
to focus.
that's just the best way to put
That's
it.
what it is.
But it's been great. Well, you can't complain. I can't complain. The struggles that come each day,
It's just
they help mold you.
They help shape you.
Yeah, let's keep it. Let's
very true.
look at it from a different perspective.
Helps
I
you
guess.
build resilience. And
Resilience, character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for me, I mean, I think today is just, apart from the tiredness, I think today has just been a good day. The rain was most welcome.
The rain this morning was
yeah.
I like how you say it was.
Most.
Some people in the Lekki axis might be sorry for you right now.
Most welcome
Unfortunately.
is relative because it was this
The
morning.
traffic was-
I heard a
was.
tree fell somewhere along the road.
Yeah. I mean,
Which of
for
the
me,
I think either on the Osborne.
Right.
Ikoyi
So just share
axis.
nuts.
It was, and I think they closed some of
Yeah,
those
part
roads.
of those,
So
yeah.
all those routes, nothing, one way.
it was a very windy rain, actually.
Yeah.
Very, very
I
windy.
know.
So it
Even
I could
in my
hear
estate,
glass,
it knocked.
I could hear windows
Yeah.
breaking.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
It was
No,
very
I knew
windy.
a tree. Wow. Well, excuse me. A tree fell in my estate, but anyway, we're thankful that we're here.
Yeah.
I see every time rain falls, I'm like, it's terrible, but I'm gonna accept my showers of blessing.
Absolutely.
So that's where we are. But so here's what we found as today's quote. It is health that is real wealth and not pieces of gold and silver. That's by the very wise Mahatma Gandhi. I think that this quote, I mean, there's not enough, there's nothing else to say. It's 100% wholly complete. That you think you have money and you have wealth until you don't have your health. Then you'd be like, no, there is no money in the world.
I like the rhyme there.
But nobody
Yeah.
accepts until it happens.
Yeah.
I think
We
some
always
people are...
learn too late.
Well, I guess so. I mean, particularly when we think about the topic that we're talking about today, that's a valid perspective. But it's just, I mean, health is everything, first and foremost. Because where there's life, there's hope. Everything else can be fixed. But this human body, you only got one. So you got to protect it. Today we're talking hypertension. Hypertension poses a significant public health challenge in Nigeria, affecting a substantial portion of the population and leading to severe health complications. Despite efforts to raise awareness and improve healthcare access, the prevalence of undiagnosed and untreated hypertension remains high due to various factors such as urbanization, poor dietary habits, and limited healthcare infrastructure, particularly in rural areas. So tonight we're discussing healthcare strategies for hypertension control. And when we open our phone lines, we'll love to hear what you have to say. But first, we take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll see what we found in the news. Please stay with us.
First of all, your lack of sleep is affecting your appetite, okay? Because you not getting enough sleep is actually affecting your hormones, the hormones that, that regulate your appetite, your hunger and satiety. Do you understand? So your lack of sleep is already causing havoc in terms of your weight, in terms of your eating, in terms of your productivity, in terms of your brain power. So many things. You're more irritable, you're snappy. It's affecting relationships. It's affecting so many things. So our lifestyle is actually not helping us. And so but what we do, we have to be intentional. So that's the first thing, is to be.
You're still watching Ways, the International Day for Biological Diversity observed on May 22nd underscores the global importance of biodiversity for ecological health, human well-being and sustainable development. In Nigeria, this day is particularly significant as the country boasts a rich variety of ecosystems, including rainforests, savannas, and coastal regions, which are home to a vast array of species. However, Nigeria faces critical challenges such as deforestation, habitat loss, and pollution, which threaten its biodiversity. Efforts to conserve Nigeria's biological diversity are vital for maintaining ecological balance, supporting livelihoods, and ensuring resilience against climate change. I think that just ended on the right note. Climate change is the one that is really at the forefront, particularly for us that are in urbanized areas and the cities. We see that there is a lot of development. Of course, we have a housing shortage. That's not news. But in the clearing of land, in the clearing of areas, right, we're suffering. So deforestation. I remember seeing a story, I think it was 2 weeks ago, where I think it was a commissioner in Lagos State was saying that half of Ekpe was not supposed to be built on. It was all supposed to be farmland and all of that. But Auntie, you're a bit late. We do have a lot of land in Nigeria. We have, I always say that Nigeria has some of the best real estate on the planet. We have, a variety of things. But if you're traveling interstate, I always have to think about this, interstate, state to state. Yeah, if you're traveling interstate, on the left side, on the right side, there's, what seems like kilometers and kilometers of bush and forest, as we call it, yeah. And then if you go up north, of course, it's a bit drier, more arid. So we've got a vast array here, and I think that for the amount of insecticide and pest killer, rat killer that we buy, we have thriving ecosystems. So it's good. Yesterday was cultural diversity. Today is biological diversity. So all in the diversity space. But of course, it's good to have days like this that help us to remember some of the things that we should be conscious about. Because, we Nigerians, we're still looking for money. We're looking for food to eat. There's somebody who tell you climate change, global warming. Guy, please,
it's not the top priority.
It's not, as they say, the math is not mathing.
No, it's not.
So all these other countries are banning the use of, plastics. We are embracing single-use plastic. Take away plates, as we like to call it, is everywhere. So it's good that days like this can bring some insights to the importance of taking care of our environment. So I'll come to you, NJ. What did you find for us in the news?
Okay, so my news story this evening, federal government bans money ritual killing, and smoking scenes in movies, music videos, and skits.
Okay, so they didn't ban it in real life. I just wanted to be clear.
It's
the portrayal of it, because I'm wondering how, yeah. But please go ahead.
The Executive Director, CEO of National Film and Video Censors Board, Shaibu Hussaini, says the federal government has approved the prohibition of money rituals and glamorizing of vices in Nigerian movies. Hussaini disclosed this while speaking to a national stakeholders engagement on smoke-free Nollywood held in Enugu on Wednesday, May 22. The NFVCB boss said that today we are facing an industry emergency requiring bold and ambitious actions from all parents, guardians, and stakeholders. He says that when his predecessor, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, was talking about the need to make a subsidiary legislation to curtail the displaying of smoking in Nigerian movies and including rituals and all that. So it has finally been approved, and I don't know when they would move forward with actions, because I don't know how they're going to go about it, because then again, this begs the question how we manage information and how we disseminate, all these rules and regulations when they when it's finally approved by either any regulatory body or what have you. So you won't go, what is going to be the plan? There has to be a plan as to how to sensitize movie producers, actors, and people within the industry on this thing. So Now it has been prohibited. So what's going to happen to the movies that are already out there? Do you understand? So is there going to be some restriction? It's not going to be played in certain locations? What is going to be, how is it going to play out? And that's what I want to find out, because today's movies,
Yeah.
you and I know that these things that have been talked about and mentioned is the order of the day in the movies. So I would like to
I
see
think,
how this pans
yeah,
out.
the story raises a lot of questions,
Yeah.
but I feel like that in itself is a whole other show, because you are absolutely right that I mean, we laugh about it, but the depiction of it in Nollywood has over time changed culture and fanned a lot of. But like I said, we will come back to this topic another day. Jella, what did you find for us?
Okay, so mine is the headline is 70 men were beaten up by their wives in the last 1 year. This is from Lagos State government. The Lagos State government has revealed that at least 70 husbands have reported being beaten by their wives in the past 1 year. Additionally, 592 women reported being victims of domestic violence by their husbands during the same period. So this was speaking at a ministerial press briefing to mark Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu's first year in office of his second term. Commissioner Dada explained that her ministry recorded a total number of 662 domestic violence cases over the last year. But what really struck me about the story was the statistics, that they gave, that of these cases, 274, which comprises of 27 involving men and 247 involving women, were directly reported to the ministry. And while, the other numbers were reported through the ministry's toll-free line. And, okay, so this is the Sexual Violence Agency. And I think for me, considering the kind of culture that we have and all the stigma around sexual violence, I think it is it's in good standing, so to say, that people are actually taking advantage of this kind of opportunity, where they're able to report and where things are being done. So yes, I would like
Well, at
to
least
say,
there's a
yeah,
a way to report it, so that's good.
absolutely,
And somebody's
absolutely,
tracking the numbers, so that gives
absolutely,
some comfort that something is being done.
absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, so my story, very quickly, my headline says, this caught my attention because of what we talked about yesterday on the show. But the headline says, Naira devaluation, Nigerian students at Teesside University, this is in the UK, are forced to discontinue studies and return home. Of course, the drastic devaluation of the currency and the high inflation has significantly affected students who have student visas in the UK. Particularly, the story focuses on the University of Teesside and the fact that these people are now no longer able to afford their tuition fees. Of course, the Naira equivalent of the same tuition fees has now skyrocketed. So the students have obviously been trying to negotiate some payment plans with the school, but the school has taken a stringent approach. They're basically saying the rules are the rules. If you can't meet the requirements of your visa, then you do need to leave. And the reason why this caught my attention was, look, we talked about it, extensively yesterday about immigration, immigration out of the country and the policies and people making the right decisions. Again, you can't plan. I mean, the Naira issue has been happening over time, but what we've seen in 2024 has been quite an exponential devaluation. But, if you're going to make the plans to go abroad, then have plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D. Be careful about which countries you go to, But, I mean, these are all the things we talked about yesterday. So this was just to reinforce the comments we made on the show yesterday, that if you are thinking about it, we're not saying don't do it, but for all intents and purposes, really, really plan and consider all the things that may affect you as in this case. We'll take a quick break now, and when we come back, we'll jump right into today's conversation. Please stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. The Nigerian Hypertension Society has called the need to raise awareness and promote prevention, early detection and treatment of hypertension, as 1 in every 3 adults in Nigeria has hypertension. Tonight we embark on a journey to unravel the complexities of this silent killer and explore the strategies needed to combat its rise in our communities. Joining us for this enlightening discussion is not one, but 2 doctors, and they're distinguished physicians and leading experts in hypertension management. So our first guest today is Dr. Tosin Issa, and together we're going to delve into this conversation about the prevalence, the impact, and actionable solutions for hypertension in Nigeria. So as usual, we'd love you to join the conversation. Please let's hear what you have to say. Remember, you can send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 0818-038-4663. So Dr. Issa, if you are there, can you hear me? Awesome. Welcome to the show.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Awesome.
It's nice being here.
Excellent.
And
Excellent.
It's nice to be part of this program here.
Excellent. We're excited to have you. So today we're talking hypertension and we're talking the prevalence of it. So I myself, sadly, are part of the 1 in 3 that has hypertension. And when I was diagnosed and going through a really bad bout, I realized how many people who I thought were all healthy, I watched them eating with glee. And then I'm like, oh, I was sick, I have hypertension. And they say, oh no, keep your drugs, keep one in your bag, keep one in your car, have it on you, take it at the same time. And I'm like, you too? Wow. So it's interesting how it almost has become the norm, particularly in sort of the slightly older, middle-aged, older generation. In fact, surprisingly, with younger people too today. So I'd like you to set the scene for us about hypertension. What is it? What causes it? And why is it so prevalent amongst Nigerians?
Okay, thank you very much. It's nice being here. And talking about hypertension, this is what we call silent killer. And that's what we call it because it's one of the diseases that is universal and affects a lot of people. So unfortunately, people do not know what is hypertension until it occurs to them. For example, hypertension has to do with blood pressure. The normal blood pressure, in case you don't know, is 120/70. That's normal blood pressure. So once you have 130/80, you already have stage 1 of hypertension. And by the time you have 139 or to 140/90, that means you have stage 2 of hypertension. So that means the amount of blood pumping in the body against the force that goes to the heart. That's what's called hypertension. So we measure the rate at which blood enters into the heart and blood pumps out of the heart. That's what we measure, and that's what's called hypertension. As the case may be, the blood pressure is one of the most dreadful diseases medical doctors are afraid of all over the world. Because of what? It does not produce any symptoms in the early stages. And so an individual that has blood pressure is not aware. So most time it is incidental findings on account of maybe, hey, let me check my blood pressure, or you follow your friend to hospital, or you just buy the machine, let me also check my own, and suddenly you discover that you're having raised blood pressure, and then worries start immediately. It's been a common disease because of so many factors. Today, a 3-year-old, a 5-year-old child have hypertension. Now 18 years old, 20 years old, a lot of them have hypertension. Before now, what the book says is that hypertension is found with older ages, people in their 50s and their 60s, but it's not true again. Now you find it in children, you have it more in people. And then now our ladies also are becoming hypertensive because of contraceptive they use most of the time. And young boys that use a lot of painkillers, pain relievers, also cause hypertension. And that's bringing it up more often among people. So we get to be careful. Then the springing up of so many of our public eatery centers that use a lot of salt, a lot of condiments, a lot of fabricated spices have also contributed to hypertension. Stress, as the case may be, Nigeria now has been under perpetual stress as contributed to it. Smoking, taking of the energy drinks, all of these have contributed to high blood pressure. And that's what we are going through in Nigeria, that you find a large number of people now that have drug or one drug or the other they take to manage blood pressure. Now, in medical world, blood pressure is divided into two as a cause. Number one, you have primary blood pressure, which is also called essential blood pressure. This one, you may not be able to identify a cause. That means that it's a primary thing that one way or the other, there are some other issues in the body system that eventually brings about blood pressure. Example of that is those that have congenital heart disease. You heard of a child that's born that has a hole in the heart. The other defect in the heart, if somebody is born with that, such a person is susceptible to have high blood pressure. Again, for those that have kidney disease, they are not aware they already have a kidney problem. They end up having blood pressure on account of the kidney disease. These are essential hypertension. The second group of hypertension is called secondary hypertension, which is the common ones everybody's going through. And those are the ones that are caused by either age or your diet or lifestyle. So those are that brings about high blood pressure everywhere, because this is now called secondary hypertension. And that's what majority of people have found themselves in. Now, when you have such situation, how do you know that you have blood pressure, especially for those that don't check themselves? Beware, anytime you begin to have headache that comes and go, you take paracetamol, you treat malaria, they told you it's typhoid, and yet the headache is not going. You may need to check your blood pressure as the case may be. You begin to feel that you're tired. You just do a little activities, you are so exhausted. That tells you that you check your blood pressure. It's not that your blood level is low. Some people think that maybe their blood level is low, and that's why they go around to buy blood tonic and use all sorts of things to see that they don't get tired. No, check your blood pressure out. It may mean that you're getting a blood pressure that is uncontrollable. Now, because blood pressure affects several organs of the body, you begin to have eye problem or hearing problem, and you are not worried about what could happen to your blood pressure, you are already heading towards trouble. Now, you do a little activities, you are so tired, and then you are fucked out completely. That means that you are going through heart failure. The heart is unable to pump blood effectively to other parts of the body, and so on a simple activity, you are tired. Just sweeping the ground and get up, you're going to fall down. You feel dizzy. All of this happen. Then you also have pain in your chest, on the left side of your chest. When you start having pain there, because that's where the heart is located. So any pain that comes from the left side of the chest, going to the hands, to the shoulder, or going to the shin, towards the upper part of the mouth, that tells you that your blood pressure is now bad. Or again, you go to sleep and you have to wake up like 3, 4, 5 times before morning to pee. That tells you that your blood pressure is poorly controlled. So all these are signs that don't come early, so they come at a later time, that can actually be a factor to blood pressure. Unfortunately, by the time you realize you have blood pressure, what are the ways you need to use in managing this blood pressure? People have depended so much on drug, but let me tell you today, it is not only drug that manages blood pressure. You need to understand this carefully, so as not to get dependent on drugs alone and then abandon other aspects of life that can assist you to manage blood pressure effectively. So I want to mention a few things that you need to know so as to manage your blood pressure effectively once it is discovered or once you identify.
Hi, Dr. Issa.
Number one.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So before you go into the solutions,
you.
yes, I mean, you've given us so much to think about in terms of the causes and the drivers. And I think before you go into the solutions, we can just, talk a bit more, because in fact, as you were speaking, in my mind, I was thinking, every day people ask me, I say, I'm so tired. I'm so tired.
Yeah.
You've answered a question. You touched on stress. In fact, when you were talking about the left side of the body, Diola she was lifting her hand and trying to figure out which was left side and what she's feeling. So I think that the key thing that you were just saying there now is how prevalent it is and how we can miss these signs. So it's really, really easy. I think NJ will jump in.
The question I would like to ask is, why is hypertension control important? I think it's necessary for us to even know why it's important. Yes, we've been talking about... Okay. Yeah, but why is it important for us to actually control it?
The control.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. The reasons are so numerous, but the first thing is that because blood pressure, when it's not controlled, leads to sudden death. And that's why we call it silent killer. A lot of people just slump and die. And the next thing is the witchcraft, or maybe the family are after him or whatever. And it's not true. It's because his blood pressure just suddenly go high and he just slump and die. Apart from this, it can actually render the person vegetable. The person can become dependent. Stroke. Stroke is a complication of hypertension. These are reasons why you must control blood pressure. Again, if it's not stroke, it can now bring you kidney failure. The kidney can pack up because of blood pressure. On account of blood pressure, the kidney can go off their activities. So these are reasons why you need to control blood pressure. Apart from this, again, for those of us that knows very deeply, they can also lead to the sight, loss of the sight, and then that means that blood pressure is too high. Again, if it's a woman and have a blood pressure in pregnancy, don't forget that can lead her to death or blind or deafness, or she can actually cut her tongue and bleed to death on account of blood pressure. The complications of blood pressure are just too numerous that once it is discovered, you must have every means. You must learn how to control it immediately, because you do not know when it will cost you your life. And that's the main reason why you will need to control it. As a matter of fact, it's a very important thing to do when it's necessary. Beyond this, it can also lead to what is called adrenal gland failure. There's something we have on the top of the kidney. We call it adrenals. It functions to maintain something in the body. When blood pressure is not well controlled, that particular organ dies naturally. It can also bring about diabetes, because the blood flowing through the system now will cause metabolic syndrome. Metabolic syndrome means that your body is unable to now digest most of the things in the body, and then you begin to have more trouble. Again, if you have obesity or maybe you have overweight, this also could be a risk factor to why you need to control your blood pressure. So these are several factors that, if blood pressure is not controlled as when necessary, could bring about complications that render the person useless in life and become dependent on people. And that can be very terrible within society. And the family is going to bear a lot of loss on that, because once somebody becomes rendered useless, other people are going to be affected because they cannot go out easily without taking care of him as when necessary. So those are the reasons why you need to control blood pressure.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Isa. I think that now I'm running to the hospital to go and
it sounds so scary.
Absolutely.
Because, yes, I can't imagine losing sight,
hearing,
diabetes,
stroke. Like
even memories begin to go down.
Memory loss.
Wow.
Yes.
It's
Okay, so Dr. Isa, I mean, when you were talking earlier, you mentioned about birth control and its relation to hypertension. So I would like to ask, are you saying that there are some drugs that actually trigger hypertension in women? And if so, how do women, I mean, if you have to go to the hospital, you have to take these pills, how are you able to tell that a particular drug, will not trigger hypertension in you? What are the things to look out for?
Thank you very much. That's a very, very important question, because one of the causes of hypertension is drug. Unfortunately, majority are not aware that some of the drugs we take also can cause blood pressure. Now, generally, pain relievers, painkillers, are potential drugs that can cause blood pressure. And the reason is very simple. Anytime you take paracetamol or any of the painkillers, the body has to break it down through the kidneys. And while that is happening, it aggravates activities in the kidney, which eventually affect the amount of blood control the kidney can do in supporting the heart activity. Eventually, pain reliever has been one of the major causes of high blood pressure in our society. And it's been abused by both male and female, adults and children. Any small pain, any small headache is painkiller. It's a no-no area. Use painkiller only when necessary or under prescription of a doctor. Abuse of painkiller has caused high blood pressure. We found a 9-year-old boy who has blood pressure, and then the mother said she doesn't know why he got pressure. We asked her, do you give this child a paracetamol? She said yes. When this child was like 6, she gave paracetamol every day to this child till almost like 8 years, and eventually the child will develop hypertension on account of paracetamol that she keep administering to the child on account of fever, not knowing that that child is going down, the kidney is packing up and develop hypertension. So for females generally, now OCP, oral contraceptive pills, have been found to aggravate blood pressure. So what our ladies should learn is that there are several ways for family planning. So it's not only oral contraceptive drugs alone that you need to depend on, because it's been found to be one of the culprits that, for example, it gives you a weight, you have a weight, and then your cholesterol increases, and then before you get obesity, then from there, blood pressure set in, and that tells you that you may need to learn other strategies to manage pain, other strategies also to prevent pregnancy, as the case may be. Otherwise, those two areas are found to be very, very common as one of the drugs that cause high blood pressure in our society, especially in Nigeria as a case study.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Issa.
Thank you, Dr. Issa. I mean, you've
This
both
is so enlightening.
you've enlightened us and terrified us all at the same time.
Honestly.
No, I didn't mean to terrify you.
No.
Not intentionally, but you...
I know you didn't mean to terrify us, but you know, the truth can be very scary. And what you've done is really to give us a very broad and very clear view about some of the less common drivers. I mean, when you were talking about paracetamol, I caught a chill, because I'm one of those people, if you check my bag now, there's paracetamol. So thank you for that. I mean, in such a short space of time, you packed a lot in. As we always say on Ways, we always know that once you have been a guest on Ways, please just know that you're on speed dial. We'll have you over time and time and time again. So we thank you so much for joining us today. And we look forward to having you back on the show very soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Nice. Okay, bye.
Thank you.
Have a nice one.
So we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll jump into the conversation with our second guest. Please stay with us.
You said many things.
A lot.
Yeah.
So let's start with the first thing you said about carbs and Nigerian food, and how you don't think it's practical to lose weight on Nigerian food because it's carb heavy. Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. So everywhere around the world they eat carbs. So it's not just Nigeria. Abroad they eat bread all the time, which is also not so great.
Burger.
Pasta. Do you understand?
Fries.
Fries. So all over the world we eat a lot of carbs. So it's not, the carbs are not really the demons. It's actually our own mindset and our own habits. It is true. Because from when, even I find that with maybe Africa, but I mean Nigeria, so let's speak about Nigeria. From when we are small, we are taught to eat a lot. From when you are a baby, you eat. It starts from even babies. It even starts from babies. You are not feeding this child. This child is not. They come and attack all the mothers. This child is not eating. Feed this child. Feed this child. So it starts from when you are a baby. You are taught, eat more. Eat more. If you don't finish your food, check back for those who are Yorubas. You know. So we're there finishing, and guess what? Those finish your food habits. Do you know people in their 40s, 50s, 60s, we still have it in our minds to finish our food, even if we're full.
Thanks for staying with us tonight. We're still discussing healthcare strategies for hypertension control. This is such an important topic. So today we have not one, but two doctors with us on the show to discuss how we can control hypertension. So remember, we'll still love to hear what you have to say. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 018-038-4663. Our phone lines are also now open, so you can call us on 0702 500-7749. Please remember to turn on the volume of your TV set so we can have a great conversation. So our second guest today is Dr. Odunayo Akinsulire. Can you hear me, Dr. Odunayo? Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for joining us. I can see you're still in your scrubs. It's been a long day in surgery from what I hear. So
yes.
Awesome. So we really thank you for taking out the time to join us this evening. So we were, in the first segment of the show, we sort of set the scene. We've talked about hypertension. We've learned some very scary things about hypertension that we may not have thought about before. But we want to start to go further into the conversation about solutioning. So we're talking control today. So the key ways in which we can control it. We've learned about the dietary and lifestyle issues. We've learned about medication that could, affect us. So now we're launching into how can we really control hypertension? If I'm dealing with it from a type 1 perspective where, maybe it's hereditary or due to maybe congenital heart failure, there's on that side. And then if I'm dealing with it as a result of maybe age, dietary, my diet or lifestyle issues, what are the ways that people that fall in those different categories, what are the ways they can start looking to manage their hypertension?
Thank you so much once again. Thank you for having me. Dr. Issa has really dealt so much on the issue of hypertension. It's a broad topic and is of great public importance, sincerely. When the topic was mentioned to me, is a topic that all of us keep talking about because it's one of the leading causes of premature death. Is one of the leading causes. And for every of diseases, majorly the brain disease, heart disease, like Dr. Issa mentioned, hypertension is highly implicated. So it's a disease that all of us must not play with. There are various ways of managing hypertension, but I want us to have this at the background that the onset of hypertension, like Dr. Issa mentioned, it could be age-related, or why say physiological. For instance, for the fact that you are a black man is a high risk factor. And that's why you notice below 40, we don't mention hypertension. Whenever we say hypertension, anybody below 40, that cause for concern. But when you get to 50, majority of blacks all over the world naturally have that tendency to have what we call high blood pressure. And for the women, outside pregnancy-induced hypertension and everything that comes out during pregnancy, the hormones of the woman, the estrogen, protect them. But the women, they are outside those reproductive cycle and they have entered into the menopause. We expect them to have high blood pressure because the estrogen is not there. The hormone that God has put there naturally is not there anymore. And apart from that, for the fact that we are in a part of the world that's what we call health-seeking behavior. This is one of a major problem in tackling the menace of hypertension. Because hypertension, though Dr. Issa mentioned about blood value, it goes beyond that. Because we see a patient, they have been on a particular drug that a colleague prescribed 10 years ago, and they have been taking that drug. But along the line, maybe they started taking the drug 45. They are like 55. A lot of things naturally would have changed. I will ask them, have you done what we call heart racing, what we call ECG of the heart, because when you are above 40, we expect you to do that. Because if you are hypertensive, like Dr. Issa said, you're having the heart pumping against a pressure, and that's what leads to high blood pressure. And why did you have that incident of hypertension as you age? Or maybe you take, like you said, pasta, processed food, and the rest. Because we have a vessel, a pipe, 10 years old, 5 years old, building up, 20 years old. You have this bad fat, bad cholesterol laying up on the pathway of the pipe. And you find that that pipe that we call vessels become narrowed. So it goes beyond the values. It comes to that, like one of the presenters just mentioned, that if I ask you, when did you see your doctor last? When did you have, what do you call it, checkup? Do you mean you are above 40, twice a year is expected. So, but the health-seeking behavior is far from us as a Nigerian or as an African. And all of us probably narrow it down because of our eye system. But we always tell people that I'm sure wherever you are staying, 5 kilometers, 500 meters, 1 kilometer, you have a particular health facility that can check your BP. Oh, is that okay? The next thing, see your doctor. And you see a doctor. And a doctor will now tell us, how do you control this? Initially, a doctor will say, okay, because it goes beyond drugs. You just look at your age, like Dr. Issa mentioned, any background stress. He might advise you, okay, you have been Third Milan traffic in the last so, you're having a headache. Okay, can you get a leave, maybe 2 days rest? If that doesn't work, okay, let's look at your diet. Because it has been discovered that diet, especially for blacks, the issue of salt, the moment you can control salt usage, the moment you're above 50, it plays a major role in management of hypertension. Controlling salt usage, actually, if you can control that, at least you have a control of 50% of the menace of hypertension. Because what does salt does? You have sodium chloride. It pulls liquid water into the blood vessel. That means you have tendency for the pressure to rise over time. So apart from that, if that one is not going, we look at your weight. Okay, that's what we call BMI, appreciable size, appropriate weight. Oh, you are not achieving that. Oh, what about doing exercise? Oh, I cannot run. No, we are not talking about run. You have a garden. Can you do that Saturday 3 times a week? Can you walk down to the supermarket instead of taking a lift? Can you take the stairs to your office? If you are probably having your office in probably a multi-story building. If that is not working, we've got out to other social things. Are you smoking alcohol? Because all this played a long role in the onset of this disease. And finally, we come to medication. But medication is the last thing. So when you come to medication, it's not enough for you to tell us that you are taking so medication. We want to know the BP, because your doctor will set a target for you. Because 40 years old BP, if you are 80 years old, there is a BP that is all right for you, but for a 50-year-old person, might not be all right. So your doctor will look at it, will place you on a particular dosage. And the dosage or the prescription is not for 10 years. Your doctor expects you to take it for a month, for 2 months, and come for a visit. Oh, Mr. So, your BP, oh, congratulations, is well controlled. Okay, can we step it down to a lower dose? And let me see you in the next 3 months. And if the doctor is satisfied, it will reduce the dose further. If we have to do what we call a routine heart tracing, ECG, chest X-ray. Oh, madam, you are doing well. Some can go to the extent that instead of taking the drug daily, you can take it maybe alternate days. And like Dr. Issa mentioned, because we have some people, they are taking the drug. But there's another thing they are doing that is predisposing them. We have drug nephropathy. That was what Dr. Issa was saying. Taking as diclofenac, we have different herbal preparations, supplement, different things. And the question we ask is that, do you know the effects of this on the kidney? Because the moment the kidney is not functioning very well, you will have a high blood pressure that you can't control. And the last one that I'm always particular telling our patients is, because I've witnessed it. Oh, Dr. Akisulue, there is this patient that just came in. He got stuck in the traffic and he can't move again. You know, I used to hear it. I thought it's not possible. That this person left the house, he drove, and for him to move from the T junction, he find it difficult. So it is a menace that all of us, and like Dr. Issa mentioned, especially for cardiac arrest, you know, a father, a breadwinner, cardiac arrest within fraction of minutes, less than 5 minutes, a breadwinner is gone, a mother is gone. And when you look at the cascade or the regimen for management of hypertension, it's not very far. We talk about regular checkup. Oh, you're hypertensive. Okay, there's no problem. We have how you can control it. There is some things that you can control. That's what we call modifiable risk factors. There are some that you cannot control. The modifiable one are the one that we are mentioning. Oh, diet, exercise, don't take bad cholesterol, reduce processed food, don't smoke, reduce stress. Try to, you know, we don't have the habit of going on holiday, all of us, January to December. Those are the modifiable ones. But there are some that we cannot do anything about. The moment you for any female, any woman in outside the productive years, you are predisposed to elevated blood pressure. For the fact that you are Black, you are highly at risk. So that means there is nothing we can do about that. I can't change my sex, I can't change my nationality. And that's why attention is being focused on the public health side. That is what you are doing now. Awareness, public enlightenment. Let people know that, like Dr. Sam is a silent killer. It's not going to give anybody that's going to have an heart attack, a stroke now. It's not going to give any sign, any symptoms. And that's why our attention is now focused on what we call the modifiable factors, the one we can control. We can control our diet. We can control what affects our life in terms of our lifestyle, smoking, alcohol, what we're taking. And we can control going to see our doctor, following up with the visits, taking instruction to our doctor. And you know, there are so many, sorry to say, and we like to enlighten everybody. When we talk about doctors, go to a register, a reputable, a medical doctor. Because the issue that we just mentioned, talking about, oh, if your BP is above 139, to us, we individualize each patient presentation. We marry it with the age, we marry it with the sex, we marry what is happening in that patient's life. And that's when we can term it, because you can find out that somebody, 75 years old, 80 years old, they say, oh, maybe because you have been managing the patient from 180, I will now say, oh, 145, 150, oh, sir, you are doing very well. And you have heard us that, oh, we said, Baba, the doctor does not know anything. No, Baba is 150. Oh, because there's a different target from everybody. So my encouragement, my charge to us, to the public and everybody is that hypertension is a silent killer. Like Dr. Issa mentioned, from every organ, from your eyes to your heart, brain, it causes stroke. One of the leading causes of blindness, cardiac arrest, and the silent one. And this one, like Dr. Issa mentioned, nobody pay attention to it. Even everybody come with malaria, it's a BP. And you don't find out that the kidney have gone from stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. Because the moment you are in stage 3, stage 4, no matter drugs I give you, regular antihypertensive, it will not control it. And we are just be bombarding you. Until you now come to the proper place. Oh, they do a proper workup, take individualize your treatment. Oh, you're having kidney stuff. So until they manage the kidney problem, that's when the BP will come down. So my encouragement to us this evening is that we should pay attention to it. Like yesterday, like you just mentioned, I've been on my feet. Yesterday, I just said, no, God, please take it easy. Go and check your BP before you go. So nobody, myself, everybody, because all of us have blood flow in our veins. All of us are subjected to stress. All of us, we are talking about processed food. I think before coming into the theater, I entered a eatery, took a bottle of Coke, and everything, meat pie, enter the theater. And now, before I probably get to maybe 10, I don't know whether I will have time to take that ideal food that we think of. But our charge is that we should be conscious of it, about our health. We should try to improve our health-seeking behavior. And I think this will go a long way, because what we want to prevent, we cannot prevent. Sincerely, we cannot say, oh, hypertension like malaria, you want to. No. What we don't want is that we don't want the complication of high blood pressure. We don't want loss of sight. We don't want stroke. We don't want cardiac arrest. We don't want kidney failure. We don't want that. That is our aim. Because like I mentioned, for the fact that you are Black, your sex, and for the fact that all of us are aging, by the time you are 60, 70, it's a natural stuff, because the pathway has been narrowed. It is when you are below 40 years old, and that's why we are worried. Oh, less than 40, less than 50. Look, I mean, something serious is happening. So our own aim is that we don't want the complication, and we want to be there for our children. We want to be there for the community. We want to be the best in life.
Thank you so much, Dr. Akinsilire. I mean,
Wow.
when we ask doctors one question, they just help us to go ahead and answer question 2, question 3, question 4.
Yeah.
So you've given
Thank
us
you so
so
much.
much, and we can't thank you enough. I think between yourself and Dr. Issa, as you were talking, we were all looking at ourselves here like, okay, we've heard. Stop talking to us. Just everybody has some sin inside what you said today. But I think the bit that you talked about around public health and public awareness is really, really key, because when we take into account the state of our healthcare system, like you said, the culture that we have of self-medication, all the things that, all these practices impact hypertension really, really really badly. Of course, the types of foods that we eat, you touched on what is it called, cholesterol. Of course, a lot of the foods that we eat are key drivers. Our soups are swimming in palm oil. We're using MSG, seasoning cubes, salts. They say keep adding salt to your ancestors whisper in your ear.
Yes,
We have
yes.
all these issues, really. So I hope that listening to yourself, listening to Dr. Issa, our viewers have really taken something away. And as I said to Dr. Issa, you have answered the call today. And for this public health vehicle to keep moving, we will keep inviting you back to bring this passion that you have brought to this topic today to various other health topics. So we thank you so much for joining us today.
With my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Have a good evening. Well, ladies,
Yep.
It's been a chilling.
I'm going to the hospital tomorrow.
My darling.
I said, well, if I have the pack, I'll check tonight.
I'm telling you, I think that it just reminds us. I mean, when he was talking, for me, my doctor makes me come back every month. I'm like, guy, you know that my HMO can just send this medication to my house. But what he said today was true. They have to keep checking. Do you have to be on the same meds? Can they step it down?
Absolutely.
So there's a reason for every single thing that happens. But most importantly, let's not trivialize our health. I know NJ was signaling at the time that having a health check can be expensive for a lot of people. But at the end of the day, we have to prioritize our health. So that would be the final call to say, please, let's not take hypertension for granted. For me, it's a very, I won't call it a sore topic, but I'm going through it now. My father died of it. So my father is one of those statistics that slumped. He went to buy petrol in a petrol station. He slumped. By the next morning, he was gone. And it wasn't until after he died that my mom, who is a nurse, found his blood pressure medication and realized he was hypertensive. He never told her. So it is just something to be very mindful of. So thank you, ladies, for being on set with me today. It's been awesome. Before we go, do ensure that you follow us on Instagram at Wayshow Africa and official Upgrade TV. You can interact with us further, drop a comment, like, share, follow, tell your friends and family to watch Ways. If it's Monday, it's governance. If it's Wednesday, it's health and well-being. If it's Friday, it's business. So there is always something for every single person to watch. If you missed today's quote, here it is again. It is health that is the real wealth and not pieces of gold and silver. Sage words and great words to end the show on. As always, we'll see you tomorrow at 8 o'clock as we bring another great conversation to your screens.